And welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I am streaming to you live from beautiful sunny Budapest here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I hope everybody has had a great weekend so far. Hi Jancy, hi Amar, good to see you in this class as well. Satnam Singh, good to see you. All right, everyone, looking at speaking part 3, some practice and strategy today. Materials do come from our websites, aehelp.com for the academic version of the test and gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com for the general version of the exam. Shang Hung, good to see you in class. Students, our websites, they look like this. This is aehelp.com with the blue background. We are British Council IELTS Registration Center, and we are partners with British Council for that. Click that big red button to join. Get our 100 hours of video lessons, 6 original practice exams, and a fully interactive course with strategies and tips to get high band scores. This is our general portal here. Click that big red button to join us there. Hi, Pachu. Good to see you in this class. Download our app, Academic IELTS Help. Look for that shield, and that app integrates with your general IELTS account, so you can study from the app or the website. It's an integrated account. And if you have questions, send me an email, Adrian, A-D-R-I-A-N, at aehelp.com. You can also get our exams from Amazon in paperback or soft copy. Search for AE Help's Academic IELTS on your Amazon store. And this is our final class for this week. Our classes will continue on September 18th, which is Wednesday, usual time at this time. And then we have classes Wednesday through to Saturday. Samir, I'll keep my fingers crossed that your speaking exam goes well tomorrow. Let's get into it. So this is speaking part 3. The speaking has 3 parts. The speaking interview is about 15 minutes long. You have 15 minutes to show your English and communication skills. Part 3 continues from part 2, the part 2 topic, so you should always try to connect your ideas with what you said in part 2. Importantly, keep your answers focused on the question. Don't go off topic. Make sure to use complex sentences as well. Focus on nice fluency, and stay calm. Stay focused. If you lose focus, don't worry about it. It's okay to say, just a moment, let me gather my thoughts, and then take a deep breath, continue on. Here we go, students. Part 3, let's talk about special events. What are some special events celebrated around the world? Give me a nice full sentence answer for this question. So what are some special events that are celebrated around the world? Focus on using the question. Paraphrase some of the words if you can. Always try to show your lexical resource, your vocabulary base. And I'll do the same. Okay, Esther says Christmas. Christmas is one word, Esther. You can't get more than a couple band scores for that. You need to create full sentences, students. This is not chit chat. This is not a light conversation. You need to show your maximum skill level. Oliver says there are many events like Christmas and Halloween that are celebrated in all the world, which I celebrated last year as well. In what country, Oliver? Give us a hint or a tip. That will work well. Kamlesh says New Year's, weddings, birthday parties, and so on are celebrated all over the world. Sure. So those are some good answers, students. Again, you need to make sure that you're answering in full sentences. There's my answer for you. The ones that come to mind for me right away are Christmas, Eid, birthdays, and weddings, which are celebrated in most, if not all, countries around the globe. In fact, I just celebrated my father's birthday last week. Now, students, this is a speaking class, so what I want you to do is type your answers and remember to speak as well. So speak nice and loud. Repeat what you hear. So repeat the questions. Speak and repeat. Okay? Shakrani says, well, there are many certain events such as anniversaries, birthdays, which are celebrated among friends. In fact, last week, I rejoiced my BFF's graduation day. Shakrani, that's great. Yeah, I guess there are people graduating this time of the year, so that's a good answer. Pachu says, well, some special events which are celebrated around the world are various kinds, such as Christmas and weddings. Last year, I celebrated Christmas in my hometown with my friends. Couple of corrections there. Students, I'm correcting your responses in real time, so make sure to repeat me as I say them. Pachu, good job in using an adjective clause. I did the same. So weddings, which are celebrated. Using adjective clauses, which and who or that, is very important to get those high scores, creating those more complex and fluent sentences. Sima says, I'm going to attend my cousin's wedding in my hometown and have lots of plans, which I'm going to implement during the occasion. Sima, I'm not asking you that question. You're going off topic. I'm not asking which event are you going to celebrate. I'm asking what are some special events celebrated around the world. You need to be specific with your answer. Kala says there are a many number of events that are celebrated in all parts of the world, the most popular of which is Christmas, Eid, birthdays, and weddings. The most popular of which are, okay? Sheng Hung says, in mid-autumn, people celebrate the Moon Festival in Taiwan. They enjoy seeing the full moon at night, spending time with family. Sheng Hung, that's too specific. I'm asking you which events are celebrated around the world. If you say Chinese New Year's, yeah, definitely. That's one of them that's celebrated around the world, or just New Year's in general. Again, students, if you do not answer the specific question, the examiner cannot give you high marks, even if you are using good English. This is where the speaking exam is not just testing your English, it's testing your communication, okay? The examiners aren't sure if you're trying to memorize answers and just say them, if you're giving some general off-topic responses. So be really careful. Jancy Jose says, special events can include either festivals of different countries, religions like Christmas and Eid, or maybe some important days which are universal around the globe, like birthdays. Okay. Priyanka says, the most peculiar event celebrated is New Year's, Christmas, marriages, birthdays. Just last week, I attended my friend's birthday party. Yeah, Priyanka, peculiar is not a correct word choice there. So the most common events celebrated, Priyanka, not peculiar. Check the meaning of peculiar. It's different. Okay, it's not used in that context. Tuguldur says, the first thing that came into my mind are days such as New Year's, Christmas, birthdays, weddings, which are the most widely celebrated events in the world. Holidays, careful Tuguldur, birthdays are usually not holidays, unfortunately. Okay, word choice is important. Now, in part 3, you get these follow-up questions because it is kind of a conversation, and the goal is to go into detail, into depth. That's where the examiner gets a good idea of the level of English that you have. That's where the examiner can differentiate between a band 6, a band 7, a band 8, a band 9. Okay? Think about it this way, students. By the end of part 2, the examiner knows whether the student is a band 4, 5, or 6 level. Okay? So keep in mind. So this is a tip or a hint. By the end of speaking part 2, examiners can identify whether the candidate is a band 4, 5, or 6. It is in part 3 where the examiner can really distinguish a band 6, 7, 8, and 9 level candidate by the complexity, detail, and accuracy of the responses. Okay, so that's where that kind of magic happens. All right, so here is the follow-up question. Why are these celebrations so widespread? Okay. Why are these celebrations so widespread? So give me a good answer for that one. Okay. And this is especially why you need to be very accurate to the first question, because if you're off topic on the first question, then the follow-up question becomes very difficult, if not impossible, and the answers become quite strange. So for the first question, you need to really make sure that you have an accurate answer. Okay? Pachu says, these celebrations are so popular because people want to rejoice in life, share happiness, relax, and live in that moment. It is also an important, or these are also an important part of culture. Okay? Pachu, those are good answers. Just take note of my corrections. Okay, Amar says, because most individuals celebrate it even if they have different perspectives. Amar, that's not a bad start, but it's still not 100% clear what you're trying to tell me. So you need to go into more explanation to have clarity for that answer. Okay. Esra, yeah, you can talk about weddings and birthdays. Sure, why not? Those are celebrated around the world. Oliver says, because these days people want to hang out with their friends and family, so it is a good way for individuals to gather in groups and celebrate life. Oliver, I changed the ending a little bit because it's a bit awkward the way you have it there. Okay. Now, a lot of you are starting with the word because. However, I strongly suggest that you use the question in your answer, firstly, to stay on topic, and also to give a more robust response. Okay? Satisfying Time says, I think because these celebrations join families together, form strong relationships among them, so people tend to enjoy them and respect the celebrations itself. Okay? So here's my answer. The reason these events are so common in many corners of the world is because of cultural history, and since it provides opportunities for people to gather in groups and rejoice in each other's company. as my family and I did during my dad's birthday party. Okay, so notice how I'm joining the content of my responses. Here I say, in fact, I just celebrated my father's birthday last week. Here I give the explanation that people like to rejoice in each other's company. And then I connect it to having fun at my dad's birthday party last week. That's the kind of strong connection that you want to make among your responses to really push your band scores to those higher levels. So again, speak and repeat after me. The reasons these events are so common in many corners of the world is because of cultural history, and since it provides opportunities for people to gather in groups and rejoice in each other's company, as my family and I did during my dad's birthday party. Okay? So that's what you need to do. Make those connections. Next question. Why do you think people like to gather in large groups to experience sports games? Okay, so a little bit more specific. Pay attention to each part of the question. Why do people gather in large groups to experience sport games? Okay, now if you need to think about the answer, because obviously that's not something people ask each other every day. So you might need a moment, and it's okay to ask for a moment. You can say, that is an interesting question, and I've never thought about it. May I have a moment, please? Okay? As long as you're fluent and the examiner can tell that you're not just stuck thinking about words, but you're actually thinking about a response, it is absolutely okay to start with a statement like this, and even while you're saying it, visualize, picture a stadium or a sports arena full of fans cheering for their favorite sports team, and then maybe you can come up with an appropriate answer. Okay? So one more time. Why do you think people like to gather in large groups to experience sport games? Juan Pablo Avila says, I believe people usually meet for sports-related activities to share the experience. It is exciting to sing along cheering for a favorite team and see favorite players in person. Juan Pablo, that is a beautiful answer. Do you have an example? Have you been to a big sports game recently? Can you make one up? Pachu says, I think people like to gather in large groups to experience a sport games because they support their favorite teams and cheer them on to win. Kamlesh Kucha says, folks encourage sportsmen to perform well and make every moment quite interesting and enjoyable by cheering in large groups. Okay, so Kamlesh, it's a good idea. Just make sure to connect it to the specific question. Gather in large groups. Okay, Chirag Gaikwad says, that's a tricky one. The main reason behind it might be the connection one has with that sport, and it's a great experience to find people with the same interest. Very good answer. Students, don't forget your smooth flowing examples. Okay? So, one reason people like to gather in crowds and cheer on their favorite teams is to share the spirit of competition. I recently went to a football match, and it was exhilarating to share in the loud roar of the crowd and watch my favorite team win. Okay, so again, get those smooth flowing examples in there. Here we go. That's an interesting question. Again, speak and repeat, students. So, that's an interesting question, and I've never thought about it. May I have a moment, please? One reason people like to gather in crowds and cheer on their favorite team is to share in the spirit of competition. I recently went to a football match, and it was exhilarating to share in the loud roar of the crowd and watch my favorite team win. Okay, so those are some good answers. Shang Hung says, well, people spend time together to watch a sports game because they can feel the energy of the crowd and support the same team, which makes them excited. Okay, that's good. Just like last month, my friend and I went to see the final basketball game in the bar. That was more interesting than watching it at home alone. Shang Hung, very good answer. Okay, I like that comparison. Now, let's look at the follow-up question. Is this good for society? So, is it good for society that people get together in large groups and share in the excitement of sport? What do you think? So again, this is where you want to make sure that you had a good answer for the first question so that you can build on it for the follow-up question. Okay, it's very, very important. I'll make a note of that while you respond. Okay, so again, keep this in mind and practice this before your exam. Okay, so this is a big tip here. Keep this in mind. It is very important to have an accurate response to the initial question in part 3 so you can build on it for the follow-up question. Okay. All right. Juan Pablo says, it is good for society in general when it doesn't turn into violence. For example, in South America, some people are too eager about seeing their team win. When this doesn't happen, when this happens, it could be a negative. Okay? So Juan Pablo, careful. I know you want to express the truth. Just make sure that you do it accurately so it's clear. Okay? And I get where you're going with it. Just make sure that you're clear about it. Okay? All right. Chirag says, yes, as far as their excitement doesn't turn into an uncontrollable aggression and their sportsmanship towards the game stays intact. Chirag, very nice. Nice vocabulary using sportsmanship. So good sportsmanship, right? That means having ethical, clean competition. Yash Padar says, that's a tricky question. People gather to share the experience and to enjoy the cheers for the same team. I also gathered at a sports complex last week for football. And yes, it's good for society to grow. Okay, those are some good answers. Sulav Gurung says, it's definitely good as people feel enthusiastic and energetic while watching the game. Okay, it's a short answer and it's not bad. You should probably build on that a little bit just to bump your score higher. Hung says, this is Hung Liman, says, society can reap some advantages from people gathering in big groups to watch sports. The most significant one is that it creates a healthy environment for those who are passionate about their teams. Okay, sure. Here we go. I'll type up an answer for you as well. It is definitely a positive for the community to experience watching sports together, as this can not only raise the morale of the populace, but can also generate revenue. Sports clubs do. Okay, so here's my answer. It is definitely a positive for the community to experience watching sports together, as this can not only raise the morale of the populace on the whole, but can also generate revenue for the sports clubs to grow. Okay, so what I'm doing here is quite a bit of paraphrasing. So using the word community, okay. Raise the morale is a nice expression. It means it creates a positive, energetic approach to life, okay? And populace for the population on the whole, so in general. And it can also create income for these sports clubs to grow and to develop. So this all comes from gathering in large groups to watch sports games. All right, next question. Have there been any changes in the way people organize big celebrations compared to 50 years ago? Okay, so have there been any changes in the way people organize big celebrations compared to 50 years ago, and how? Okay, give me some nice full sentence answers to that question. Give you a little bit of a hint. Pay attention to the grammar of this question. Meanwhile, I'll read a couple more responses to the previous. Shang Hung says, well, of course, it not only makes sports more professional, but also increases revenue from merchandise. Like last month, I bought a final championship team t-shirt for $100. So I certainly believe it's a positive to gather in large groups to experience sport games. Shang Hung tied in with that main idea. Otherwise, a very good response. Satisfying Time says, yes, certainly 5 decades ago, people used to invite guests by handwritten letters, but nowadays they can organize huge celebrations just by emails. Tuguldur says, I feel like celebrations were comparably peaceful and satisfying 50 years ago, more than they are now, due to new factors such as chaos resulting from large crowds, extra profiting of services, and so on. Tuguldur, you're using a lot of good words, and I think you have a fairly good idea, but it's quite general. It's better to be more specific, okay? Jancy says, well, in my opinion, the method of celebrating has remained the same throughout the years. Themes usually have gone unchanged to protect the traditional way of these festivities. For example, people still decorate for Christmas. Jancy, I think you missed the question. So you're answering the question, have celebrations changed in the past 50 years? But the question, Jancy, is, have there been any changes in the way people organize big celebrations compared to 50 years ago. The word organize here is very, very important. So in that case, Jancy, you're off topic. So you'd be losing marks. Amar says, I think that it differs from the past days because individuals' habits and customs are completely different from each other. Amar, I think it's the same as Jancy. You're going off topic. Vlogging World says definitely. There's a big change in the way people organize big celebrations because of money and other possibilities. What other possibilities, Vlogging World? Vlogging World, use the present perfect right away. So definitely there has been a big change in the way people organize large celebrations. So again, students, you have to show the examiner that you can use these more complex forms of grammar like present perfect. So when you hear have in the sentence and you identify that it's asking you for present perfect, you should immediately include that in your response. So yes, there has been a lot of change in the way people organize major events as compared to 5 decades before. Okay? So I don't need to paraphrase every single word from the original question. What I definitely have to pay attention to is making sure that I have present perfect in my response. So have there been any changes? Yes, there has been a lot of change in the way people organize events compared to 5 decades before. 5 decades, of course, is 50 years. Back then, people generally invited each other in person or through handwritten mail. However, these days, it is much more common to use social media to organize festivities. For my dad's birthday, my mom just sent around an invite using Facebook posts. Okay, so that is your high band response. Again, reflecting and making connections among my answers. Okay, so again, repeat after me. Yes, there has been a lot of change in the way people organize major events as compared to 5 decades before. Back then, people generally invited each other in person or through handwritten mail. However, these days, it's much more common to use social media to organize festivities. For my dad's birthday, my mom just sent around an invite using Facebook posts. Okay? It's clear, it's accurate, it's detailed. There's an explanation and there's an example. All right? Juan Pablo says there has been changes along with technology. Thanks to the internet and social media sites, it's much easier to promote events in general compared to 5 decades ago, even when it comes to local celebrations. Yeah, just avoid the repetition of events, Juan Pablo, and you have a very good answer. All right, let's continue on. A few more questions. Again, focus on accuracy, complexity, and paraphrasing using the question. Okay, give examples. Here we go. Let's discuss family gatherings. You know you're doing a good job on the speaking part of the exam when the examiner changes up the topics in part 3. That means that your fluency is really good. They have time to ask you some more questions. Here we go. What are some positive and negative situations when families get together? And Shakrani, yeah, that's a good response for this statement. Sure. Okay, so keep the dialect going. So keep the discussion going. Let's talk about family gatherings. Sure. What are some positive and negative situations when families get together? Donna Faye says, oh yes, this generation is so competitive that most people would do anything just to impress others, even on a tight budget. Okay, I'm not sure which question you're answering, Donna, but it doesn't seem to fit. Satisfying Times says, well, making the relationship stronger and spreading love between family members is the biggest positive, but it can be devastating if they start to enter into their personal business. Satisfying Times, I think you're off topic on that one. Byron Moonhen says, yes, of course, there has been lots of changes in the way people organize events in the past 5 decades. They used to have simple parties at home, but nowadays it's so different. Okay, it's for the previous one. Hung says, family members spend time with each other, brings about both merits and demerits. As for the positive side, they can strengthen the family bond so that they can understand each other better. Students, the word merits and demerits, it's way overused by a lot of IELTS candidates. Please be very careful using those words. We don't actually use the word merit and especially the word demerit too often in everyday conversation. So I kind of recommend staying away from those two words. Charlie Sen says, well, birthdays, marriage ceremonies, anniversaries are positive situations where family can get together. Similarly, someone's death is a negative situation where family members gather. Charlie, that is the first accurate answer. Absolutely. Okay. Tuguldur says, I believe that most positive situations occur during family meetings. For instance, friendly conversations, cooperations, cooking meals together. However, when someone in the family acts selfish, I think many students are misunderstanding this question. What are some positive and negative situations when families get together? Okay. Charlie's was the only accurate answer so far to this question. Well, a few of the positive circumstances that come to mind are birthdays, graduations, and weddings, which I had previously referred to, and unfortunate events like accidents and illness or death are also common for families to get together and share each other's sorrows. Okay. So that is the accurate answer. Well, a few of the positive circumstances that come to mind are birthdays, graduations, and weddings, which I had previously referred to, and unfortunate events like accidents, illness, or death are also common for families to get together and share each other's sorrows. Sorrows means sadness or strife, difficulty. Okay? That is an accurate answer. All right? And I'm still reading a few of the responses, and many of them still seem off topic. So again, If you're not sure, and I think some of you for this question should have asked for a repeat. So you should catch. Please repeat it. If you're unsure of the question, instead of giving an off-topic response, just get the examiner to repeat the question, and hopefully the second time you'll catch it more clearly. Okay, so use this phrase. I didn't quite catch that question. Could you please repeat it? And then hopefully the examiner will. They don't always, but hopefully they'll say, sure. What are some positive and negative situations when families get together? And then hopefully you realize that, these are talking about or this question is asking about the moments in life when families get into groups. Okay, so be careful with that. All right, next question. In your opinion, is it important for extended families to gather at least a few times a year? If yes, why? Okay, so in your opinion, is it important for extended families to get together at least a few times a year? If yes, why? Okay, again, if you need some time, ask for it. Chaitra says, certainly it is important to gather at least a few times annually because it enhances sharing and caring among family members. Chaitra, that's pretty good. Okay. Give me an example. Like, say, I have a very close relationship with my cousins because I see them at least once a month. Okay. Hafid is asking, are you talking about broad family and nuclear family? Hafid, it's in the question. So if you ask the examiner that, Hafid, so if you say, are you talking about broad family or nuclear family, then I will just repeat the question. In your opinion, is it important for extended families? If we say extended, not broad, but extended families to gather at least a few times a year? If yes, why? So Amar says, I believe it's very important for society to get together, to keep in touch and share events with each other. Amar, why? I love the happy face, but unfortunately you can't project emojis during the speaking exam. At least I don't think you'll get points for doing happy face emoji. So you need to respond with an explanation. Amit says, I feel it is vital for family members to get together at least a few times annually. This is because it keeps the family together and everyone can share moments of happiness and sorrows. Okay, good, Amit, good. Xash Lover, in my opinion, it's crucial for families to get together annually as we are all living far away from each other these days and talking on social media is not good enough. We need to meet in person. Useful for you says, yes, sure, it is a major role in the way that it benefits building strong relationships. Okay, those are some good answers. Here's my answer. Yes, I absolutely believe that extended family, like cousins, uncles, should get together and share special moments with one another at least once a year. This bonds among the family and build strong roots for future generations. Okay, and again, you can include an example. My grandmother makes sure that every year on Christmas we gather at her house. Okay, so yes, absolutely. I believe that extended family like cousins, uncles, and aunts should get together and share special moments with one another at least once a year. This helps to strengthen bonds amongst family members and build strong roots for future generations. All right, students, here's one final question. You can take this one for homework. What are some ways that governments could encourage quality family time for its citizens? Can you give examples? You can answer that question with audio. Record it on your phone, on your mobile, and send it to me by email. I'll give you a score estimate, let you know what band that answer would be. Send your answer to Adrian at aehelp.com, Adrian, that's my name, at aehelp.com. And to see lots of HD video lessons, over 100 hours, join our premium package at aehelp.com for academic and GIELTS help.com for general. Those websites look like this. This is general with the green background. Click that red button. Join us there. Blue background, academic. Click that red button to join us there. Live classes continue on Wednesday, September the 18th, same time as now. I hope everybody has had a good chance to practice, learned some good tips, hopefully some new vocabulary. Keep up the work and you will succeed. Much love to all of you. Have a great start to your week and see you on Wednesday. Bye for now.